stress on its own is not bad. In fact, every human being on earth needs stress.
Okay.
First of all, I want to counter the myths of people,
Yeah.
being that they believe that stress is not good. And so somebody will always say, I don't need stress. Don't stress me, stuff like that. But that's wrong. Life in general is designed to operate under stress. But the point is, the stress should be managed. Okay, now, what actually is stress? On a simple term, stress is simply force exerted on something or somebody. So, if stress is a force acted on somebody or something, then certainly it's going to bring up pressure, which affects the tripartite being of man. Talking about his spirit, his mind, then his body. So today we're not looking at the physical part, we're not looking at the spiritual part, we're looking at the mind part.
That's the
psychological part of it. So stress on a normal is simply force exerted on someone or something. So if stress is a force, you must agree with me that everything on earth needs force to succeed. Because according to Newton's law of motion, says everything continues to be at its state of rest except acted upon by an external force.
Yeah.
So there are certain things you're supposed to do positively in life that you'll be reluctant or adamant to do. You need a force. So once this force comes on you, you step up. So this force that comes on you that makes you to do what you ought to do is actually a positive stress which is necessary. So if that is not there, there is no how you can move forward. So many goals in life are achieved on the basis of there was a force that propelled me to get this done. So if the force is not there, you will remain where you are. You'll be reluctant, you'll be adamant to achieving a dream or achieving a particular task. Hence the reason I said stress is a force, etc. It depends on how you manage the force that comes.
And everyone in this universe needs stress.
Everyone needs stress to get to
no matter how you try to.
No, you cannot negate it.
Or whatever.
Once you understand stress from this perspective, because once the force comes, pressure comes. So the pressure can be positive pressure or negative pressure.
That means all those why most of us here, we see it as pressure, like negatively pressure,
yes,
that is not necessary for human development.
Not knowing that it is required to even achieve a dream. It is required to achieve a goal.
Okay.
So, for instance, if you don't have a force that propelled you into driving your vision, you couldn't by now have been here driving this vision.
Sure.
The popular great man we know that says everything rises and falls on leadership. I respect that so much. I grew up to hear that. But at this point, I added man. Stay in line with it. Everything rises and falls on knowledge. Because even the leaders work or lead by knowledge. So, the level any man is on earth today is the level of knowledge that he has about the thing.
Sure.
So, the more you are shallowed in your knowledge, the more you remain at the valley. Simple. So, if people have clearer understanding of the concept of stress, they will begin to even pray for stress, but a positive stress.
Yeah, I'm actually coming towards that direction because you're saying people shying away from their responsibilities because of stress. I wanted to ask, thank God that you've already said that. I wanted to ask you, what about the negative part of it? Because stress is positive and it's also negative. It depends on the angle you're coming from.
It depends on your management of it. Management is where the problem is. In fact, the problem of man from Genesis is still management issue.
Tomorrow.
Because the woman that was given to Adam was not bad. But because Adam could not manage the woman now became the trouble that led him to what he did. So we are saying that everything rises and falls on knowledge, and when you have that knowledge, you cannot be able to manage that situation. So stress is good if you can be able to manage it.
If you can be able- And moving forward, let's look at mental stress. Because this mental stress have actually made a lot of people to go down. Most people have even lost themselves in the process, the negative part of it. So what is mental stress? Now, when we talk about stress, we have a lot of things.
Okay.
So our major concern today is mental one. So what is all about?
Now, when you talk about mental stress, you talk about what happens in the mind,
Yeah.
of which everything boils down on thought. So mental stress has to do with the thoughts that came to the mind that was not properly handled.
Okay.
That is the negative mental stress. Positive mental stress is where thoughts that came into the mind that was properly managed and it benefited the mind to think positively.
Positively, yeah.
So, but when it comes, the thought comes to the mind and it is a negative thought, it's certainly going to produce negative results.
Yeah.
So, whenever we talk about mental stress, we're talking about the thought that someone allowed to come into his mind and stay. Why I say I put the word stay is because you cannot stop what comes into your mind to a larger extent.
Yeah.
Why? Because you may not be able to stop a bird from flying over your head, but certainly can stop the bird from perching.
Yeah. That means you have control over your thoughts.
Exactly. Because day by day, so many things we see, we hear, we experience produces thought hedge.
Yeah.
So everything goes to the mind. So your ability to manage those thoughts,
management parts of
still
life
management.
now, yeah?
So your ability to manage the thoughts is actually what helps you to be psychologically balanced. For your ability to manage that helps you to be emotionally balanced,
Yeah.
even intellectually balanced. So everything, in fact, the effect of mental stress is linked to affect both the spirit and the body.
Definitely.
Because everything there, everything about life links up to the mind.
The mind, yeah.
How you think about a thing,
The
how you
mind
process
is more
your
like
thoughts
the engine house of
is the engine, is the engine room.
you know?
How you process thoughts, because the gateway where thought enters has to do with the eyes, the ears, and what you feel. Because day by day, as you walk on the road, you see things. It speaks to your mind. It drops information to your mind. You hear things, even the ones you don't want to hear, even the ones you don't want to see, even some experiences you don't want to encounter. Nigeria will even make you be experiencing everything, whether you want it or not. And so those things builds up what we call thought hedge, which gets to the mind and begins to affect the mind, either positively if it's handled right, or negatively if it's not handled right.
What are the possible causes of this mental stress? Because one cannot just wake up one morning and start feeling down and the likes. Something led to that. So what are the major possible causes of this mental stress?
The environment has a way of increasing the stress.
Yeah.
What you see happening in the economy, in relationship lives of people, those things brings thoughts to your heart, and then you begin to ponder, looking at the whole thing, trying to cross the whole T's, dot the whole I's, check the two sides of the coin and the whole sides of the dice, and then it begins to get you worried if you don't manage it right. But when you manage it right, it makes you think, because thinking and worrying are not the same. So the environment constitutes the kind of mental stress we see. So majorly the environment, okay, which is actually linked to where you are, what you see on daily basis. Then the economy, and then of which our daily lifestyle also should be put into consideration as well. So those things are actually what constitutes this kind of stress. Because when somebody begins to look at this, concern this matter, I don't know what to do about that. This one is happening, and I'm still talking about this one. Another one is also happening. So day by day, what you see happening in life is actually what leads to that kind of stress. So what you see day by day, what you hear in the internet, in the news, what you see happening physically, what you experience, all of them are constituents that build up stress.
How can one know that he or she is mentally stressed. That's the symptoms that you will know. Aside being down, like feeling depressed and the likes, what are the major signs that you'll be seeing and you will know that you are mentally stressed and there is call for an action? Or someone we see in a person, the person we know that this person is not in his or her normal state of mind.
For you to know that you've been under mental stress, you discover that you make incessant mistakes. You discover that you fall into errors. Why? You could no longer correlate. You are destabilized.
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody might be saying something, you are there, but when you want to make a move, you make errors because your attentions are divided. So you're thinking of this, you're bothering yourself on this, and the next thing is that you begin to make significant mistakes. That is one sign to show that you are mentally disturbed or stressed. So you need to actually work on that. Another thing that shows that you are mentally stressed is indecision. You find it difficult to make decisions. Indecision shows that you are mentally stressed because you can no longer picture things right. You can no longer make right decisions, and then you are trying to jump from one pillar to post. Why? Because you are not stable upstairs. So those two can actually be a sign apart from the ones depression, anxiety. Somebody now enters into introversion or introvert nature, even if the person is an extrovert. It shows that something is actually wrong mentally.
It can even make someone to become a sadist if care is
Exactly. Yeah. Because when you experience some things that have actually happened, there's every tendency you want to take decisions that may even hurt you at the end of the day. Affect your relationship at the end of the day, simply because of what you saw that people said, what happened, and stuff like that. Another factor, just like you said, is sleeping wahala. Let me call it sleeping wahala. You see somebody, even some persons, you will see them, they are lying down, they are actually on their bed, their eyes are closed, but they are not actually sleeping. Why? The mind is still worried, moving from one place to the other. That's why when you do small noise, when they are awake. Why? They weren't sleeping at first. Okay, so lack of quality sleep can actually, lack of rest can actually be a factor that can say to be causing mental stress or caused by mental stress.
Your mental health is supposed to be your number one priority. You shouldn't play with it. Mental stress is what most of people out there don't pay attention to. We always concentrate on the negative parts of things, thereby making you to feel so overwhelmed when it comes in. We've talked about this mental stress today. We've looked at the symptoms, we've looked at the causes. Now, let's examine the possible ways we can manage this. Because we can't say we are putting a stop to it. No, we can't put a stop to it. So we're looking at possible ways whereby we can manage it for people to have a wonderful living. So let's examine the possible ways we can manage this.
Before you think of how you can manage a thing, you must define what that thing is. Because trying to look for a solution, whereas you've not discovered a problem, you're wasting your time. Okay, so in managing mental stress, the first thing is define which angle is your stress, mental stress, focusing. Because there are different angles. Some persons, their mental stress, their wahala, what they are worrying about, and they cannot sleep, they cannot have rest, is simply what? Relationship. Relationship. That's the first step. Define which angle is your mental stress coming from, so that you will know how to treat it. But on a generic view, if you must manage stress, the first I say to people is to define, discover, and depend on your source. Who is your source? Define your source. Is God your source?
Okay.
Or is your fellow human being your source? Anywhere I go, I carry Jesus, I preach Jesus. The truth remains that why so many persons are mentally derailed and they are worrying themselves is because they have not anchored their hope on Jesus.
Hallelujah.
Simple and short. Now, let me say it on a generic view.
Okay.
So long as you are a human being, you should have a spiritual source. If you want to use Jesus as a spiritual source, fine and good. Me is Jesus. There are so many other persons that are not also using Jesus as their source, and they have other source. There is no neutral man on the earth. So, if you must build your confidence and worry less, you must hold your source well. Your source has a power to help you in life. So many persons are down. Why? Because they have thought of all these things. It is much on them, and they have not thought of their source. If your source has the capacity to do a particular thing, my dear, you will worry less. For instance, if you know somebody that you know quite all right, you know the capacity of the person financially, you know that this person can do this thing for you. My dear, even if something comes up, you will not be bothered. Why? You have been convinced that once I pick call and call this man, call this woman, mommy, daddy, see, brother, uncle, see, the person will certainly respond. Will you be worried? Certainly you will not be worried. Why? You have a source that you are confident in. Even if when people are troubling themselves, you are not troubled. You are relaxed. Why? You know that this person I have can do something. In the same way, your source should be defined. Who is your source? If God is your source, if Jesus is your source, then you need not to worry. The second thing you do in trying to manage stress is to take calculated risk. Avoid taking uncalculated risk. Risk is good, but make sure that every risk you want to take in life is calculated. There are so many persons that have actually taken useless, undefined risk, and it got them bothered, it screwed them, it got them down, and they cannot sleep again. Why? Because somebody motivationally said some things, and then because of the motivation, you stepped up and started doing something. Excuse me. Before you run, you must sit down and count the cost of your run. So many people are doing something simply because they saw others do it. Before you step out to do a thing, make sure that you count the cost. Jesus was talking about something in the book of Luke. He says, who is that man that wants to set out to build a house that will not first of all do what? Sit down and count the cost. If you don't count the cost of a thing, you will be moved by motivational speakers who will steer you and will not still tell you how they started. Though. They will now steer you, fan you to flame. Bam, you are off. And then once you go out there, you get trapped. And then you return and you are worried. You are down. You cannot sleep again. You cannot even go out. Why? Because you took steps that you did not calculate before you take. Simply because of motivational words. Number 3 that you need to do is set your priority right. Set your priority right. So many persons wants to do everything at the same time. It is wrong. Don't do everything at the same time. If you want to get everywhere, start somewhere. Don't work on your wants, work on your needs. Set your scale of preference and alternate for gone. Not those ones that are needed to be tackled at the moment. With respect to what is actually the need at that moment. Not because of the euphoria of things, not because of the vibes of things, not because of even what people say to you. Those things, okay, we can do all these ones, they are good. But see, which one do we need to tackle now that is necessary? That is why so many persons have tried to get everything, and at the end of the day, they put themselves under pressure. Remember, force exerted on someone and then brings about what? Pressure. Then again, is that you must be careful of what you say. Speak right. Speak positively. I'm talking about people who are making promises that they cannot fulfill. That is why you have put yourself on high jump. Somebody found you to flame, steered you up, and then you saw one, for people in a relationship, you saw one beautiful girl or you saw one handsome guy, and then you are no longer controlling yourself. You want to make promises that you cannot keep. And at the end of the day, the person is on your neck. Because to every I do is responsibility.
Sure.
In fact, if somebody say I love you, don't be quick to respond. Because once you accept, it's responsibility.
You have to examine it very well.
I'm telling you. Because these things have put so many people. That's why I said people need to define the area where their mental stress is coming from. If
from
your
that.
own is relationship, mind the people you accept in your circle. Mind the people you accept the I love you. Speak positively, say the right words, use the right words. Don't say what you say, and at the end of the day, by tomorrow, you'll be regretting what you said. So the person due to anger made some statements that shocked them till today. And then they are being under pressure, mental stress, because what they are seeing as the resultant of what they say, they cannot hold it anymore. So be careful of what you say when you are happy, and be careful of what you say when you are angry. These things count. Another one is live within your means part-time. Live within your means part-time. Many persons have put themselves on high jump because they want to impress. Why will you try to create impression? Who cares? Those people that are actually even trying to make you to create those impressions, look behind the scene. They don't care. They just want to trap you. And at the end of the day, so live within your means. If you cannot achieve a particular task at a particular time, please leave it. Postpone it. Postponement is not a sin. Postponement is not that you are weak. It is simply that you have counted the cost, you check yourself, and it's not something that you can do part time. So I need to live within my means at this point. I give it time. Give everything time. But because people are trying to please others, they have tried to do most things, live above their means, and at the end, you're under pressure. You cannot sleep again. You've made a lot of promises. You want to prove to people that you are Olori. You want to prove to people that you are Odogu. And at the end of the day, Odogu and Adabugi. Conclusively, you must define your association. Define your association. People that you actually bring around your matters. There are people that you will bring, they will just be putting negative thoughts that will just, instead of lifting you to do positive things, you think of doing something negative.
One must try as much as possible to get so uplifters, because iron sharpens iron.
Why will you bring people that will just be saying things that will make you to go and do something that is negative? Just because they want to propel you to do something. Lastly, I will say, discover your control limit or your power over things, people, or circumstances. What that means is, please, there are things you cannot change. There are situations you cannot change. There are people you cannot change. Know them at that level. This is how you live, no problem. Find a way to live within their own. Simple. Because the more you try to press someone and do all these things, that is why you are trapped and you are depressed. Because you're looking at this person is not becoming what I want him to become. This thing is still happening the way, and my family is still like this, the country is still like this. All these things, if you cannot do anything about it, my dear, relax, let it be. You must not solve every problem. You are not El Shaddai. If the day you think yourself as El Shaddai in solving people's problems, you will amount to El Shaddai. Because you are trying to prove to everybody you are the Lord of hosts. Excuse me. Live within your control limit. If it is something you cannot change, don't disturb yourself. Look for another person to change it if you cannot change it. Don't carry the cross and then it is now weighing you down. Thank you.
I want to borrow something here. You are not El Shaddai. The day you try to become an El Shaddai, that is the day you become I Shaddai. Wow, I'm going home with this. What are you going home with? You that is out there, you have to know this. Today, I have learned something, because you are not the only person that we're trying to enlighten here. We enlighten ourselves because we are here to relearn, unlearn, and try to help ourselves in one way or the other. So having said that, you have to know that stress is part of life.
Sure.
But one thing that is very certain here is the management. How do you control this stress? How do you control your thoughts? How do you control people around you? How do you plan your life? There's some things that you don't change. And because you cannot change it, just as my guest said, let it be.
Let it be.
Do your best and let it be. That problem that you're trying to kill yourself because of, if you die, that another person can actually come up and solve that problem. So why do you want to kill yourself? Is a relationship you're struggling because you've not getting married or something? If you die in the process, marriage will still be happening.
Exactly. Every day.
So if you're dying for one thing or the other because you've not actually getting to that your desired goal, I bet you this life does not have duplicates. And you have to be conscious of what you put in your mind. Because the reflection of what happens here starts from the mind, the eyes, the ears, the mind. It just starts from this place. One reason why we should try as much as possible to feed our mind with the positive food. Manage this mind very well. Manage the stress, whatever you call your stress. Manage it. Define your source, very important. Me, I draw my strength from God. Where do you draw your strength from? Just the way he said his. He draw his from God. Your own. This is a question that we are leaving you with today. In managing your stress, so that we will not be hearing cases of suicide and the rest. Because when you trace this suicide of a thing, it's as a result of stress. 80% of it is as a result of mental stress. So we have to be cautious of all these things so that we live a wonderful life, and at the end of the day, you will be happy, I'll be happy, the world will be a better place.